Hello. So these are going to be your notes. If you don't have this paper, that's okay. You can fill it out later. If you do have it, please fill it out as you're moving along. So we're going to learn 4 different vocabulary words today. The first one is called an altitude. And an altitude is a perpendicular segment from the vertex to the opposite side. So as you can see here, I have my vertex right here, and I want to draw a perpendicular line to the opposite side. So that's what an altitude is, and we'll go over some other things you need to know about it in a little bit. A median is a segment that connects the vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. So right here, here's my vertex. It's going to connect to the midpoint, therefore this side is going to be congruent to that side. Okay. Something you need to know about the median is the median only makes the sides congruent. It does not make the angles congruent. Okay. Angle bisector, we've already learned this, but it is a segment, or it can be a ray. In this example, it's a ray that cuts your vertex in half. So for the angle bisector, this is going to make these two sides congruent to each other. These two angles congruent to each other. It actually has nothing to do with the sides right here. It has nothing to do with these angles as well. So just be aware that it kind of gets confusing. When you're looking at angle bisector, it's only looking at this vertex angle, nothing to do with the side, where all the other ones deal with the sides. Okay. And then last but not least, we've learned about this, but go over it again. A perpendicular bisector is a segment that is perpendicular to a side at the midpoint. Okay? So right here, this is my midpoint, so this side is congruent to this side and it's perpendicular. A big thing about the perpendicular bisector is it does not have to go through a vertex. So it does not have to go through the angle. If it does, we learned from perpendicular bisector theorem, if your perpendicular bisector goes through that vertex, what kind of triangle is it? It would be an isosceles triangle or an equilateral triangle. We will go through mid-segment on Thursday, so don't worry about that, but if you can please turn this over. This is how we're going to be applying these things. So if I tell you BD is the median, remember median means it's the midpoint, so this side would be congruent to this side. And now I need to find these measures. So if AD equals 22, well then what's DC? 22. And what's AC? 44. And that's like a question you might get about the median. Okay. For altitude, if BD is the altitude, so if it's the altitude, that means you need a 90-degree angle. Find the indicated measures. Well, I'm telling you angle 2 is 40 degrees, so let's write 40 degrees there. What is angle 1? Well, we already did, because it's altitude, it's 90 degrees. So how would you find angle 3? Remember, they add up to 180, so what's 90 plus 40? Minus 180 is 50 degrees. For a perpendicular bisector, BD is a perpendicular bisector. We know it's perpendicular and a bisector. So I'm going to add that in. And now I can answer these questions. If AC is 20, what's AD? 10. What would be BDC? Angle BDC would be 90 degrees. And if angle C is 35, then what is CBD? So I want to know what's this one. Well, what is 90 plus 35 minus 180? Would be 55 degrees. Nope, 45 degrees. No, why am I don't know why. My brain's on. Ignore me. 55 degrees was right. I keep second guessing myself. Alright, last but not least, if BD is an angle bisector, so again, this is the one that gets a little tricky because it's an angle bisector, I don't care about the side. I'm only caring about the angle. So that means these two angles are congruent. Not these two. Not the sides, only the angles because it's an angle bisector. So if C is 80 degrees and A is 40 degrees, I want to know what is CBA. So what is this whole thing? Well, this whole thing, ABC, is a triangle, so they need to add up to 180. So 80 plus 40, subtract that from 180, and you should get 60 degrees. So this whole angle B is 60 degrees. So then what would angle 1 be? Since it's a bisector, it cuts it in half. It's 30 degrees. Now, if I know this is 30 degrees, what's this side right here? 30. How do I find angle 2? Angle 2, that creates a triangle as well. So what's 80 plus 30? Subtract from 180. That gives me 70 degrees. And then angle 3 you can find two different ways. You can either draw another triangle here, or these are a linear pair. So if that's 70, what does that have to be? 110. All right, I hope that clarified some things for you. Your teacher will discuss this further with you on Wednesday. Thank you.